A robbery at 8 in the morning, a thief more interested in phones and laptops than cash, focused on asking for a password.
I was like looking him in the eye and be like, sorry, I can't. Because I knew that I have very important data information in my phone.
That's what marked the attack of an NTD reporter outside her apartment complex, where she was robbed at gunpoint.
It sounds actually pretty targeted to me.
Was the armed attack random, or is it related to a story she's working on? And could the latest incident have been orchestrated by the Chinese Communist Party? What do you think? Comment below and subscribe if you haven't already. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Ellie Hart, in for Tiffany Meyer. A robbery committed in broad daylight. A reporter with NTD was robbed at gunpoint right outside her apartment complex over the weekend. The armed attack raising concerns about whether she was targeted at random or if it was something more. Let's take a closer look.
In the southwest area of Washington, D.C., just as NTD's White House reporter Iris Tao stepped outside her building.
And this person approached me and just, when I made eye contact with him, he was already pulling out a gun. And then he pointed it at me and asked, oh, give me your phone, give me your phone.
She was confronted by a black man covered in black from head to toe with a handgun at around 8:30 in the morning. Then he snatched her phone right out of her pocket and demanded her wallet and laptop. Tao maintained she only had books with her. After that, the man asked for her phone password.
I was like looking him in the eye and be like, sorry, I can't. Because I knew that I have very important data information in my phone.
Tao refused to give her passcode out.
And then he smacked it in my face with his gun, and then he ran away. And then that's when I started yelling, help, help, help. And then two neighbors came out to help me call the police.
Tao covers Chinese politics and current events in Washington for NTD. Public safety advisor Jim Fuda says the incident doesn't seem just like a random robbery.
It sounds actually pretty targeted to me, especially that time of day. Somebody dressed the way they were, mask, all that along with it.
In contrast to most cases, the man seemed more interested in her phone and laptop than cash, and he somehow knew she carried them, even though they weren't visible from the outside. Fuda says robberies typically occur when it's dark outside to help conceal the crime. Beyond that, most thieves just wipe the data from a stolen phone and resell it, and do not ask for a PIN number or password to get into the device.
Or they want to keep the phone themselves, but it doesn't make sense to me because of the phones can easily be tracked. If you charge it, many cases are solved like this. One, had she been stalked prior, which a lot of media people do.
I started to more worry about if there's any CCP or Chinese government related factors behind it, because it has happened to our media employees before where they were stalked and then subsequently attacked. Their computers sought after, their data wanted. So
Tao came back from the attack with only a slight injury, but that wasn't the case for Sarah Leong, a Hong Kong reporter for NTD's sister media, The Epoch Times. She was attacked by a bat-wielding man outside her apartment building in 2021. The assault was believed to have been orchestrated by the Chinese Communist Party to silence independent reporting. Prior to the attack, Leong had been stalked by two men. Both their faces were partially obscured by masks. For Tao, the armed robbery happened just 3 days after she attended a White House press briefing.
Does the U.S. believe that new number by the Chinese government, saying that there's been 70 cases?
The Chinese, they have not been fully transparent.
The whole Chinese government, one thing they're afraid of the most right now is for any foreign country or even Chinese citizens to find out about a real COVID outbreak situation in China. Asking that question, I think the Chinese government has definitely, noticed it.
NTD and the Epoch Times have both drawn the ire of Beijing for their unfiltered reporting, especially on the numerous human rights abuse and corruption accusations against the CCP. Before Tao lost access to her phone's location, the man's location pinged inside a building about 15 minutes away by car. Police suspect the man lives nearby, since he would have needed security access to enter the building.
Washington is taking its restrictions on Chinese tech a step further. The Biden administration has stopped approving certain export licenses for U.S. companies. The decision blocks those companies from exporting most items to China's Huawei. A person familiar with the matter said the move is part of a new formal policy to prohibit shipping specific items to Huawei. Banned items would include technology below the 5G level, like 4G items, plus Wi-Fi 6 and 7, artificial intelligence, high-performance computing, and cloud items. What's more, reports say that now licenses that may have been approved earlier, like for 4G chips that can't be used for 5G, are getting denied. The U.S. has restricted exports of 5G-related gear and other technology to Huawei for years. But the Commerce Department has given some American firms licenses to sell certain goods to the company. But reports of the shift struck a chord with Beijing. Here's what a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman said Tuesday in Beijing.
China firmly opposes the U.S. generalizing the notion of national security and abusing state power to unreasonably suppress Chinese companies. This practice violates the principles of market economy and international economic and trade rules.
Some White House officials are reportedly weighing a bigger decision, whether to block Huawei from all of its U.S. suppliers, including microchip makers Intel and Qualcomm. It would prove the next step in efforts to cut off Huawei's ability to buy or design the chips that power most of its products. Huawei has long been suspected of operating under Beijing's directives and of assisting the Chinese military. For that reason, American officials placed Huawei on a trade blacklist in 2019, citing national security. Huawei declined to comment to the press. In Western Canada, citizens are fending off Beijing's arm of control and saying no to China's network of overseas police outposts. Activists warn that these agencies are being used to track and harass dissidents. Here's what's happening.
Vancouver residents rallied last Friday against an alleged Chinese police station set up in the city.
I care about Canadian democracy and freedom. The CCP is the biggest threat to freedom and democracy in the world. We got to protect our sovereignty.
People come here to become free. They came here to be safe. The very brutal Chinese Communist Party to reach out here, that's a bit of a problem.
Demonstrators gathered around a property maintained by the Wenzhou Friendship Society. The agency is one of the Chinese regime's so-called overseas service centers. According to Spain-based NGO Safeguard Defenders, more than 100 of the agencies operate worldwide. These groups claim to help Chinese citizens living abroad with passport services, but maintain close ties with Chinese police.
Its former and current presidents have very close ties to the Chinese Communist Party. It is also stationed overseas by the Chinese Public Security Bureau.
Human rights groups accuse those outposts of cracking down on dissidents and spying for Beijing. Safeguard Defenders estimates that between April 2021 and July 2022, more than 200,000 overseas Chinese nationals were forcibly returned to China to face criminal charges. Threat tactics include harassing and intimidating the target's family members.
They are very good at getting close to the line and not crossing the line. The RCMP seem to indicate they need new laws or guidelines or policies in this regard.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police are looking into several of the outposts across the nation. Outside Canada, another alleged police outpost is located in Manhattan, New York. The FBI searched the facility last fall. Similar investigations are underway in over 10 countries, including Ireland and the Netherlands.
The U.S. promising to send more advanced weapons to South Korea, like fighter jets and bombers. The two countries would also strengthen joint military training and drills. That's according to U.S. Defense Chief Lloyd Austin. He's in South Korea on Tuesday, meeting the country's president and defense counterpart. Washington is reaffirming its security commitment to the key ally in the face of a growing threat from North Korea. Austin and President Yoon discussed regional issues including the security situation on the Korean Peninsula, extended nuclear deterrence, and trilateral security cooperation with Japan. Seoul's presidential office gave the details in a statement.
The U.S. commitment to the defense of Korea is ironclad. You heard us say that a number of times, but that's just not a slogan. It is what we're all about.
The threat from the north has been on the rise. North Korea fired a record number of missiles last year, including warheads capable of reaching the continental United States. News broke earlier that the U.S. and South Korea have been holding nuclear talks. South Korea said both countries discussed potential joint exercises using U.S. nuclear assets. South Korea doesn't have its own nuclear weapons, but the country is under a U.S. protection agreement called the Nuclear Umbrella. It means Washington would use means, including nuclear weapons, to defend South Korea if needed. Back to Austin's trip. The leaders pledged to expand military drills and boost nuclear deterrence. Japan and NATO pledging to bolster ties. The head of NATO saying Russia's war on Ukraine has created the most tense security environment since World War II.
Beijing is watching closely and learning lessons that may influence its future decisions. What is happening in Europe today could happen in East Asia tomorrow. So we must remain united and firm, standing together for freedom and democracy.
Stoltenberg met Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Tokyo. Discussions covered Russia's nuclear threats, China's and Russia's joint drills near Japan, and North Korea's nuclear weapons development. Stoltenberg called out China on several concerns, expanding its nuclear arsenal threatening Taiwan, and spreading misinformation about NATO and the Ukraine war. He noted, quote, "China is not our adversary, but we must understand the scale of challenge and work together to address it." Meanwhile, Japan has expanded military ties with Britain, Europe, and NATO, amid growing threats from Beijing and North Korea.
Today, we committed to further elevate Japan-NATO cooperation in order to maintain and strengthen the rules-based, free and open international order.
The two leaders agreed to approve cooperation in areas from cyberspace to space exploration to critical and emerging technologies. The Czech Republic's new president, breaking a diplomatic taboo from China. He held a phone call with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen on Monday, becoming the first elected European head of state to speak to the island's leader directly. Beijing's anger soon followed the move. On Tuesday, China's foreign ministry condemned Czech President-elect Petr Pavel, saying he ignored Beijing's repeated attempts to dissuade him. Leaders of the European Union don't usually deal with Taiwanese authorities head-on. They often limit official exchanges to civil servants and keep dialogue under the radar. But Taiwan has been getting more international attention lately due to escalating military threats from China. Beijing claims the self-ruled island as its own and has vowed to take it over by force if necessary. Monday's call signaled a diplomatic breakthrough for Taiwan, which has no formal relations with the Czech Republic. Monday's call signaled a diplomatic breakthrough for Taiwan, which has no formal relations with the Czech Republic. Beijing regularly criticizes visits by foreign lawmakers to the island, but a call between Tsai and another head of state is rare. In 2016, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump also spoke by phone with Tsai, setting off a storm by protest from Beijing. Also on Monday, China urged what is called relevant U.S. lawmakers not to visit Taiwan, amid reports of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's planned trip there this spring. According to a Monday report, the Pentagon is preparing for McCarthy to visit to Taiwan later this year. Germany says it needs more lithium and wants to catch up with Beijing's huge investment in the South American mining sector. At the same time, Berlin looking to reduce dependence on China. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced a new expanded commodities partnership with Chile on Sunday as he toured South America. Like much of the world, Berlin is working to transition to a greener economy. And zooming in on Germany's strong auto industry, producing clean energy cars needs lithium. The ultralight metal is key to making batteries for electric vehicles. When it comes to getting those raw materials, Scholz believes working more closely with Chile could be the solution. He hopes to gain better access to key minerals in the South American country. Germany has fallen behind in the race for key minerals. It's caused a reliance on China, which already has a strong foothold in resource-rich South America's mining sector.
We want to support Chile on its way to becoming a sustainable mining country, which is why we not only renewed our resource partnership, but also expanded it and added aspects of sustainability, which are so important for the future viability of our planet.
Argentina, Chile, and Bolivia make up what's called the Lithium Triangle and control much of the globe's raw lithium resources.
I am very happy to strengthen our relations. It's a pride for the Chilean state, the fact that Germany is worried for what's taking place in the south of our America.
Factors like rising demand and geopolitical concerns are driving Germany to better secure and diversify its supplies. Chinese battery maker CATL recently built a second plant in central Germany and aims to have 6 production lines running this year. The company is slated to become Europe's largest battery maker once its facility in Hungary reaches full capacity in the coming years. The Germany-based plant can produce 30 million cells a year, enough to power about 350,000 electric cars. Approval to raise that capacity is expected in June. But Asia's battery dominance in Europe has raised concerns in political circles, drawing attention to dependence on foreign manufacturers for key technology. These fears are especially pronounced in Germany. The country is now developing a strategy aimed at reducing reliance on China, Currently, Beijing is the country's largest trading partner. That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program here after being demonetized for 2 years. Here's what to look out for in our second half. Thousands of Cubans have been protesting since July 2020, calling for an end to communism. But what exactly is happening there? And what does that have to do with the socialism in U.S.? American thought leaders host Jan Yakulik sat down with Orlando Gutierrez Boronat, spokesperson for the Cuban Democrat Directorate, to find out. The full episode is available on our partner platform at Bak TV. To sign up, click the link down below. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Ellie Hart. See you tomorrow.